All right, here we go. Betting Weekly, The Edge, coming to you right here on the Betting Weekly studios. Mike Carver here with you. First time, actually, Mike Carver here with you. Super excited to be here with the crew on the Bet Rivers Network, and even more excited that I get to hang out with Doug Kezirian here for the next couple of minutes, talking about NFL week number 2. Doug, great to see you, my man. How are you?
Great to be with you, Mike. Long time, first time, as they say in the radio biz. But no, good to connect. Obviously, week one just behind us. Last Friday, I did a show on some props with Adam and Dustin and had some fun doing that. But we're crunching the conventional betting lines today with sides and totals and things that stood out. And as you very well know, you've been doing this a long time. Such a unique animal week two, right? Week one has been up for months, right? Hammered into place. And then we see some adjustments in the point spread. We have some injuries, unfortunately, in key positions. So it's definitely a different animal than maybe say week 13, between week 13 and 14. So you always got to adjust, always got to have flexibility and some knowledge about how to read a situation. I think week two certainly presents those curveballs.
Yeah, it certainly does. And we're going to be with you every Wednesday here, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. Pacific, with those sides and totals. As you were mentioned, I did catch you guys on Friday, you, Bull, and Dustin. Nice job getting ready for week one. And I think that's the biggest thing about week two, Doug, right? You hear a lot also, well, week one is the hardest week to bet in the NFL. It is so difficult. You're going off a lot of information from last year. You're going off of a lot of things from the preseason. Now, Doug, that we have just a little bit of fresh information 1 week off of every team, got to change the strategy a little bit.
I would agree. Now, there are some people who really trust their numbers, right? Their power rankings and whatnot. And because there's so much fluidity in September, at least more so than there is during the rest of the season, that they truly believe that that might be the time to bet the most. I don't. I'm different. I let the math guys shape the market, and I rely on situational handicapping and sort of like my own athletic background and all these other factors, eye test, whatever you want to call it, and try to pick my spots accordingly. And a friend of mine called it scar tissue. I have these scar tissue, meaning the losses over the years, where you learn from your mistakes. And I've even jokingly said in some situations, well, old Doug would have bet this, but I'm not going to take the bait this time anymore. But it really is a different animal week two. By week 3, 4, we should have an idea of what teams are, at least their like wiggle room, right? Their floor and their ceiling. But week two, we still don't know. Like, is Jacksonville good, or is just Carolina that bad? I believe the Jaguars only had 7 yards of total offense in the second half. So we're not really sure. That's why we need another data point on the Jags, or maybe another data point even on the Panthers, and work backwards. A good example of this is Florida State, Alabama, right? I know that's college, but Florida State was so bad last year, and then Alabama got dominated. It's like, okay, Alabama must be really bad. Well, FSU might be good, not great, but good. That loss on the road isn't terrible for the Tide. So again, that's just comparing a week two in college football gives us a little bit more data points. So I think we can apply that here in the NFL. But I do think the NFL is going to have some interesting spots, situational handicapping throughout the course of the season that is not necessarily power rating driven, but I don't think we quite have a spot just yet in week two. It's too early for that.
Kind of like the scars, Doug, that I got Monday night playing the Bears, thinking that things would be different just because Ben Johnson's there. No, Doug. It was the same old Bears on Monday night. Before we get into some of these games, including the Bears and the Lions this week, give me a couple of teams, actually. We'll do a little upgrade and downgrade off of week one. Give me quick few teams that you've upgraded a little bit after the week one performances.
So I was kind of bullish on them to begin with, meaning like they're going to be better than their win total, like Dallas, right? So they were 7.5 in the summer, went to 6.5 with heavy juice on the over for their win total after the Micah Parsons trade. And I was saying that's too low. The offense is too potent. Dak was, remember, he was runner up to the MVP a couple of years ago when he was healthy. But I still upgraded them a little bit. I wouldn't be stunned if they were like a third NFC East team that made the playoffs, or given there's so much turnover in that division, maybe Washington wins the division, and maybe the Eagles season goes sideways because the defense backside the defense. So there's a world where the Cowboys could make the playoffs with 9 wins. But I did upgrade them a little bit, and we see the market has a little bit. They're sizable favorites in week one. So that's one team that stood out, but I was kind of anticipating like being ready to fire on them. And another situation of this is the Steelers. I was anticipating
Yeah.
thinking that they could be good now that they get like we don't know how good Rodgers is. That's a mess of a situation in New York, the fishbowl as well. Rodgers is anti-media. So maybe just kind of going off into Pittsburgh and kind of out of the New York media may benefit, and the right coach, Tomlin, right? Adults, an adult in the room, and then the right defense. I think the Steelers could be frisky. And I would say the Raiders. I had heard some buzz on the Raiders going into week one because the stud corner for New England was out and everyone was just ready to anoint the Patriots as this like surprise team. But the Raiders offense looked a lot more competent than I was ready for. So I would say those three teams.
Yeah, I think we needed some more data points on the Steelers, to be quite honest with you. I
Yeah.
don't, I mean, because it's two-sided for me what happened Sunday. Wow, their offense with Rodgers scored tons of points, and their defense was awful against
Against
the
Justin
Jets.
Fields. Yeah,
Against
I'm with
Justin
you.
Fields. So that was surprising. And I love with Dallas. I was stunned, Doug, how many people thought that I get losing Parsons, that Dallas was going to be a 5-win football team this year. That just didn't make a lot of sense to me. So I'm with you, thinking that Dallas maybe could win a few more games. And a couple on the downside. I don't know if you can get any lower with a team, say the Dolphins. I don't know how low you had them going into week number one, but man, I'm sure you downgraded them a little bit after Sunday.
Well, sadly, I was on them, but every sharp,
Oh,
quote unquote, sharp, but that was as sharp as a marble, that pick. So I, I haven't been high on Tua to begin with or high on their coach. So it didn't surprise me a lot. I just thought the Colts were that bad with Daniel Jones. Teams I'm down on that I thought would be like better. We'll see about the Broncos. I thought Cam Ward was the best. I should have won the Heisman. So have him go in there now. They just kicked a bunch of field goals. It's not like he was dynamic, even though they only lost by 8. A lot of games went under, Sue. So Texans, I wasn't high on them, but maybe I'm a little down on them relative to sort of market perception that everyone just assumes they're going to win the division because by default, right? Bengals, I would expect more from, but they're terrible in openers, right? In the
yeah.
last handful of years. So you can't, I would say the Eagles, I've probably downgraded the most. I thought Jalen Hurts was phenomenal. He bailed them out time and time again. The question is, like, they should have lost that game. The question is, the defense isn't the same. Now, with that being said, Jalen Carter missed the entire game, essentially, right? So we'll see if the trenches can be changed and help the back end of the secondary. But I would say the Eagles just a couple notches on the knob.
Yeah, I'd like to see their passing game get going a little this week. We'll talk about the Eagles, of course, with the Super Bowl rematch going into Kansas City this Sunday. All right, we're going to get into some of the week one games now. First off, the Betting Weekly newsletter. If you like what you hear on our show, sign up for our newsletter, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. All right, Doug, week number 2. Let's roll here. And we'll start with the Bears and the Lions. I just told you I got burned. I thought maybe a little bit of a different Bear team that we would see, maybe a little different Caleb Williams that we would see on Monday night. Great first drive to the game. Not much after that. They got a defensive touchdown, and that was it. Vikings came back with a rookie quarterback, essentially a rookie quarterback, and took him down in the second half. You also have the Lions coming off a divisional road loss in Green Bay. Let's start with the Bears and Caleb Williams in this matchup that we're going to have.
It's really tough because I like Caleb Williams. I think he's going to be a good pro. I've been planting the flag, so to speak, but I'm also a USC Trojans fan and want him to do well. And I believe in Ben Johnson. So I don't think the Lions are going to be that good this year at all. I think Jared Goff is average at best. And I think he's benefited from really good teammates and really good coaching. And he has sucked every time he's not had that. So laying 5.5 is a big number, but the Bears did not look good at all. And a rookie quarterback, let's face it, a rookie quarterback kind of carved him up in the second half. Yes, you have the pick six and things like that. That was an emotional game for Chicago. Short week. I think it's a different animal for a new coach like Johnson. The number feels right. I don't believe in the Lions, but they're a different animal at home. It's just hard for them to think if they lost. Can the Lions really start 0-2? So if you don't think they're going to lose, then the 5. I feel like they sneak out of cover, so it's a little higher than I would have liked. I would have liked 4. But if I had to play this game, I would lean to the Lions. I just think the offense, because that score last week was not as close as the score indicates. I thought they got dominated, but I think they can do the dominating in this game. I think it's a tough spot for the Bears.
Yeah, I actually, sometimes you look at week one overreactions, as we were just saying. That might be the Lion offense now with with
Yeah.
Johnson being gone. It might be Jared Goff turning back into a pumpkin after some of the things that he has done the last few years in that offense. For these two, Lions have won 5 of their last 6 against the Bears. 4 of the last 6 has gone over between the Lions and the Bears as well. I don't think points, though, here, Doug. I kind of like the under clocking in at 47 right now.
I can see that for sure. It is high, and you have the fast track. I don't know what to make of the Bears because Caleb Williams had that like rollout rope that only a few quarterbacks in the league can make, but there are still growing pains. There is a familiarity level to this. Now we have to dissect this. There is a world where Ben Johnson knows this defense really well, right? He faced it in practice. He knows their tendencies. Now it's a different DC, right? With Aaron Glenn going over to New York. So I get that, but he knows the personnel and he knows where not the bodies are buried, but the tender sweet spots. And so I wonder if he's already scouted them all offseason. So yes, it's a short week, but there's a world where he knows how to play this defense, all things considered, and like how to get to Dan Campbell, so to speak.
Yeah, indeed. We'll go to Dallas next, where the Giants and the Cowboys get together. Another divisional game here in week number 2. And I know, listen, Doug, I'm not just going to tell you about the losers. I told you I had the Bears on Monday night. I also had the Giants on Sunday. I did have a couple winners last week, Doug. I do promise you I won a couple of games. But Giants, of course, lose in Washington, and they're getting a similar number now, getting 6 in Dallas. And if you like trends, Doug, or you're a trend guy yet, we're going to hang out a lot.
I like hearing them.
Dallas has won 8 in a row against the Giants. And if you want to go a little further, 15 out of 16 against the Giants. You got to be kidding me.
So for me, talking to a sharp guy, it sounds like this is all about, the Giants left tackle, Andrew Thomas. That's the issue with why they looked so bad. And he's not expected to play, my understanding. Now, I also don't want to overreact to the Cowboys playing the Eagles well. I mean, there was a lot of weird things, and Jalen Carter obviously missing the whole game plan change, as Dak talked about, is, that's a big sort of benefit to Dallas's offense. But they have a lot of firepower, man. CeeDee Lamb dropped a bunch. I think this Giants offense is interesting. I love Neighbors, but if Russell Wilson's that bad and they don't have a left tackle, I know the Cowboys D is shaky at best, but man, they couldn't do anything against Washington. I was on the Giants +6. I'm a little uneasy taking the Cowboys here, but I think I have to. I think they might even be a survivor pick of mine just because they're so bad, and it's a good one to get out of the way.
I agree. I'm
I
not.
think if Andrew Thomas is out, I think the Giants or the Cowboys are the play.
I'm not doing it 2 weeks in a row, Doug, with the Giants on the road. And especially, I just don't like what their offense looks like with Russell Wilson. And it's one game. And again, we don't know what it's going to look like moving forward. If I'm a Giant fan, if I'm a Giant backer, if I'm anything with the Giants, I want Jackson Dart in there as soon as possible, Doug. I don't want to see Russell Wilson running this offense.
He was that bad, huh? He was that bad?
I thought so. I thought he was that bad. Watching that game and watching him throw my ticket away, I thought he was that bad. And you know who else thought it? Malik Neighbors. He thought it too, huffing and puffing over on the sideline. He wants him in as well. I think it's just a matter of time before they get Dart in. But if they're going to go with Wilson again and he doesn't have Andrew Thomas out there, big problems. I'm with you, Doug. Let's go, Cowboys. And I like the sneaky survivor pick too. This week with the Cowboys.
Look, everyone's going to be on the Ravens. I get it. It depends on the size of your league. Little game theory. If you're in like a 15-person office pool, yeah, you don't have to worry about week 8, 10, 11, 12, right? Yeah. But if you're in a huge one, you do have to worry about that. And there are elements of getting too cute. I get it, but you're trying to win. You're not trying to finish in the top 10. It's winner take all. So, but you just got to be careful. I think, was it week 2 last year or week 3 where the Cowboys lost by 1 million to the Saints?
Yeah.
So some teams can look like world beaters in week 1 or 2 and then be flat. I just don't think you're going to get a Cowboys flat spot. They just may not be that great, or maybe the Giants can play a little bit. Neighbors has burned me last year, end of the season. He's so good.
Right.
But if Russell Wilson's that bad, then maybe the Cowboys are the play here.
Yeah, I'll go with you. Maybe a little, I know another under for me here, but 44 and a
Okay.
half in that game, just because I have no faith in the Giant offense. That's really the only
Right.
reason why I'd be going in that direction. Bills and the Jets at MetLife this week. What a win for the Buffalo Bills on Sunday night, trailing by 15 late in the fourth quarter, 41-40. They take the Ravens down on Sunday Night Football. The Jets played a wild game with the Steelers we referenced before. Justin Fields in the offense looked outstanding. Got a total sitting here now with 46 for us, Doug. Bills and the Jets at MetLife. Where, by the way, if you look at the history of this series, the Bills in the Josh Allen era have blasted the Jets at home. But at MetLife, Doug, a lot closer. Two of these last three games, 3-point win by the Bills last year, a Jet overtime win, another 3-point win by the Bills. Some close games at MetLife.
I mean, some of those were weather induced, right? And then some good spots to back the Jets. I think the Bills, now I was on the Ravens, so whatever. It is what it is. But the Bills are awesome on offense. I don't know about their defense, but you know what? Every defense looks bad when facing Lamar Jackson. I think the Jets showed me something. I'm going to take the bait. The number's gone up a little bit. I think it's my favorite play of the week. I'm going to go over 46 with the Jets and Bills. We know Buffalo can score on anyone. You give the Jets 14 defenders, they'll be able to score. And the Jets offense looked competent at times. Look, there are weapons there. We know that, right? Garrett Wilson, what is it, G6, G4, whatever they call him. He's so good, right?
Yep.
And they're at home. They felt comfortable last week. I think they're in a bounce back spot. 46 feels on the low side. Now this total can get away for you. It's on the higher side for an NFL, but it feels low. But you get these drives to midfield and punt, and then all of a sudden you're looking at like a 3-point quarter, and then you're screwed. So be careful out there, but I do like the over.
Yeah, the Bills defense generally really struggles against the elite quarterbacks. You look at the last 5 years in the McDermott Allen era, the Lamar Jacksons, the Patrick Mahomes, those are the teams that they have no problem. They have a problem stopping. But the Jet offense looked pretty elite last week with Fields and with Garrett Wilson and everything.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to be able to score some points on this Bill D. I love that over with you, Doug. Let's go and get that. Before we keep moving, how about Bet Rivers football squares? Players who place a qualifying same-game parlay of at least $10 on eligible NFL or NCAA football games will receive one standard entry into the weekly squares game. Winning standard squares will be awarded a prize of $20 bonus bet. Let's go. See app and website for more details. Bet Rivers football squares. All right, Doug. Moving along to the next one. We have a Super Bowl rematch, an early season Super Bowl rematch, which you don't see very often, Doug, right? Because networks like to save these games for later in the year. They have so much pomp and circumstance to them. I know we had one year, Denver, Carolina was a rematch on the opening night game. And back in the day, we had some Bill Cowboy games after they played a billion times in the Super Bowl. You don't get this very often. And you're getting the Chiefs off a trip to Brazil, a losing trip against the Chargers, and they are a short dog at home. Usually a good recipe for Patrick Mahomes, Doug.
He's been money in the underdog role, but he's also been money in the short favorite role, and that did not transpire last week. And this team played with fire. Remember, they had the 1 seed out in the AFC, but they had so many games where they just should have lost, things like that. But you're right. It is a tricky spot. And last year, just for perspective, the Eagles went and won in Brazil, right, over the Packers. And then the following week, they lost at home to Atlanta. And that was that Monday night game where it was weird. They had the drop pass that would have iced the game. Instead, they let Kirk Cousins' company drive the field. But it still was a flat spot for Philly a year ago. So now the Chiefs are not off the win. So it's not necessarily a flat spot. I'm surprised the Eagles are favored. I get it that the Chiefs didn't look good, and they got some injuries they're dealing with Worthy and whatnot. But are the Eagles that much better from a power rating standpoint to be favored here? I guess so, but they didn't look that great. I just know what I'm getting with Philly, and I thought Jalen Hurts was awesome. And Mahomes, is amazing against defenses unless you can get pressure on him without blitzing. And that's what the Eagles were able to do last year. They were able to get to Mahomes in the Super Bowl without blitzing. And that's the Steelers' typical sort of kryptonite or path to victory, whatever. TJ Watt is like a blitzer. So you can rush 4 and get pressure on the quarterback, and then you have 7 to defend. And that's what Philly did against Mahomes, and guys weren't as wide open. And I do think the line is telling you that the Eagles are that much better than the Chiefs. Remember, the Chiefs were 2 years ago were power rated, were underdogs in Baltimore, underdogs there, and they kept winning. And then they won in overtime over the Niners in the Super Bowl. There might be a sort of a changing of the guard here. 9 straight years, I want to say, for Kansas City in the AFC West. It's okay to look human. And frankly, Herbert was fantastic. This wasn't a Chiefs loss as much as it was the Chargers won. But I lean Eagles, but I kind of don't want to get involved.
Yeah, I kind of don't want to get involved either. Let me ask you this. Being that we're midweek, it's Wednesday. These are 2 teams, Doug, that usually get a lot of public backing, right?
Yeah.
These are a couple public darlings. Chiefs off a loss as a short favorite at home. Eagles, the defending champs, always a very big public team. Where do you think that number, is going to push by the time we get to Sunday in terms of who's the public going to be behind?
So I think it goes to 2.5 more quickly than it goes to pick, right? I think the Eagles will stay the favorite because I do think the Sharps are anti-Kansas City. So the sharp money will be on the Eagles. And the extra rest. I mean, you nailed it with the off the Brazil game. So yes, it's that was a Friday game, so there's extra. But I mean, I just think the Eagles are fresher, not having to travel to South America, and I do think the defense is going to look a lot better with Jalen Carter playing a full game, assuming he doesn't spit on Patrick Mahomes. So I do think we're going to get a better performance out of Philly. The offense was out of sorts, but remember there was the rain delay. That was the second half, the lightning delay. Yeah. There were some other things that were in play, and Jalen Hurts was fantastic. Mahomes still looked pretty good. So I think this gets to 2.5. I do not think it gets to 3.
All right. I got 2 bonus ball rapid fire games for you, Doug, also for this week. First, Ravens off that loss we mentioned in Buffalo on Sunday night. Now go home. Huge number against a division rival. The Browns played well in a loss against Cincinnati last week. Similar spot, Doug. You see this brought up a lot from last year. Ravens lost a close opening week primetime game on the road to Kansas City, went home as a huge favorite and lost outright to the Raiders. Well, here we go again. Close road primetime week 1 loss in Buffalo. Here comes the Browns calling at 11.5.
Yeah, I mean, I lean to the dog here. It's just tough because the Ravens are so explosive. And even when they're trying to bleed clock, they can bust one with Derrick Henry or even Lamar for that matter. I'll caution everyone to this. And I'm glad you brought up last year because I know a lot of people are like, oh, week 2, they'll bounce back and take care of the Raiders. And that was one of the more surprising results of the entire season. I couldn't believe it. Teams, there's usually a hangover effect off an emotional win. College football, right? Off an emotional loss. Clemson plays that huge game against LSU opening weekend, Labor Day weekend. They lose at home. And then the next week they're facing Troy. Everyone's like, oh, they're going to take it to them and want to get back at it. Nah, not so fast. Troy hung around. It's a little bit of a flat spot. So I would look at Browns first half. I think it's going to be sluggish. Ravens still sort of hungover. I don't think they're up for this game, even though it is a home opener. I just think there's a lingering effect, like my golf game. You hit a bad shot, you bring that to the next shot, and you're still thinking about it. I just don't know if the Browns are that competent. They looked fine against the Bengals, but Cincy's defense stinks. Ravens are the good team. They might be the best team in the NFL still. So I'd proceed with caution. If you want to do Survivor, it's probably a safe bet for sure.
Yeah, now we know, Doug, first time together, but I know that our golf game is very similar because I got the same problem. We take it to the next tee box when things do not go well. I am with you. I think the Browns first half is a nice way to possibly look at this game. The other bonus ball game I'll give you. How about this Thursday night game? Of course, tomorrow night, Washington and Green Bay at Lambeau. Both teams coming off of a win. Both teams getting a lot of hype right now. -3.5 at Bet Rivers for the Packers. Total at 48.5 for a Thursday night game, which typically, Doug, a lot of them to the under, especially early in the year when teams are still kind of getting their feet wet.
Right. And they don't practice red zone offense. And that's a lot. It happens a lot is there's this shell defense where everything's underneath. I think you have to grab the points with the Commanders, but I fully expect to lose the bet. I was of all the win totals, one of my favorite ones this summer was Green Bay under 9.5. Now that was before the Micah Parsons acquisition, but I just thought so many things went right. You know, they were 10-1 outside the division last year. 10-1. Now
Mm.
that also I would also expect regression the other way in conference play or sorry, division play. But I'm not sold on Jordan Love. Like maybe he finally has his number one wideout. I do like their tight ends. I just think last week we couldn't put a lot of stock in the Commanders, so I don't really know what I'm getting with them either. Now we know last year they were fantastic, and it was Magic Johnson's rookie year. That's what it felt like with Jaden Daniels. I just feel you can't lay the 3.5, but so you have to take it. But what this means is when a point spreads 3.5, that means the underdog is a little bit weak, right? It's a weak
Right.
underdog. That's why you need the extra hook. We'll know tomorrow afternoon who's going to win because there'll be a head fake in the market one way or another. And the early move on Thursday or during the week, when there's early move and then it comes back the other way, then we know that's the right side. And they're just setting it up for the game day of bigger limits. I can't get involved in this. I think under would be the only way I play with, but I don't want to sweat out an under with the
No.
Commanders. All they do is going to play overs this year. I do think the Packers are good though. I have to maybe you don't want to die on a hill all year, right? So I liked them under 9.5. They get Parsons. Maybe there's some other things, but I would lean Commanders here. Like in a pick'em league, I'm on the Commanders, but I'm not betting the game just yet.
Yeah, I'm with you on Jordan Love. I'm still kind of waiting to see that next little tick up, that next level up that he's going to go. And I thought Daniels this year was going to be a little bit of a regression. Usually that rookie quarterback who burns the league on fire, everyone spends 6 months in the lab going through all his tape, trying to figure out how to stop him. Maybe it was just Now, I thought the Giants did a decent job on him last week. It's not like they scored 30, 40 points. So maybe the Packer D, you're right, sweating out a total. I lean in this under 48.5. But do I want Jaden Daniels running up and down the field in the second half of this game and taking it from me? Probably not. Maybe a first half under for me, Doug, on Thursday night.
I can see that.
Start slow.
I just think it's not just Jaden Daniels. I was thinking regression too, but maybe Kingsbury and all that, all the infrastructure around him is really that special. We know he has weapons. The running game looked okay. You're right. The Giants, didn't get carved up completely. But I do think it's not just Daniels. I think the ingenuity of Kingsbury and things like that make them really special.
Let's do a couple favorite bets before we get out the door,
Sure.
Doug. I'll start with me, and then I'll kick it to you because it's a game that we haven't brought up yet. You talked about data points with the Steelers and seeing Aaron Rodgers for another week and seeing that defense. I think you get a big bounce back from the Steeler defense this week with the Seattle Seahawks coming in. Of course, West Coast team traveling to the East, home opener for the Steelers at the old ketchup bottle. I was not impressed with the Seahawks at all last week, Doug. Give me the Steelers laying the points at home on Sunday. That's my favorite play this week.
Yeah, that was one that jumped out to me. There's some 2.5s. You can buy it down at Bet Rivers. It's -3, -105. I do think, and it's the West Coast team early time slot as well. I was on Seattle last week. I thought they should have gone for it on 4th and 1. McDonald made the mistake. Purdy gets away with the errant throw that ends up being a touchdown. And still, Darnold gets bumped, and he had a guy wide open. They should have won that game, but they put a lot into that game. That was a division rival, right? One of the best rivalries in all of football. Huge rivalry. They wanted to make a splash. So they do that. Now they have to go on the road, early time slot. They have a mid quarterback, as the kids would say. So I do think the Steelers are the right side here. I'm shocked this number is not 4. So when it was 2.5 for a couple of days, I was looking at it funny. So I do like the Steelers in this game. I do like the over in that Jets-Bills game that I mentioned. That's a best bet of mine for now. And that's it for now. I'm a little gun shy. I was the one guy saying when Bryce Young got drafted, saying he's going to be a bust. He's tiny. He's a midget. Okay. So this whole he figured it out. Like, no, he's not good. Now the question is Arizona that good? They're a much different team at home. I would look to the Cardinals minus the 6.5, but I do think the Panthers can muck it up. I just think Bryce Young's tiny and he's not that good of a player.
And by the way, Doug, injury news for you on a Wednesday. Kyle Shanahan told reporters that Brock Purdy could miss
Yeah.
multiple weeks
Yeah.
and that he's a long shot to play on Sunday at New Orleans. So Mac Jones was, of course, be in line to start. Right now, Bet Rivers Niners down to -3.5 road favorite in New Orleans against the Saints.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to learn a lot about Mac Jones because Shanahan's a wizard, right? I've
Yeah.
always said in this NFL when these quarterbacks, these unproven quarterbacks get paid, I just said I'd rather go get a backup and just overpay a coordinator like Ben Johnson or Kyle Shanahan. Pay them like 15 million, or unless you're if you don't, then you're going to be the Raiders who are I think paying 4 head coaches right now. So I just think a guy like Shanahan should have Jones looking really sharp and crisp. I think Jones will be good. I'm not like a huge Purdy guy. I think he's a system QB.
Yeah.
But that's a tricky spot. But are the Saints that bad? Like, I don't know. Kellen Moore he botched clock management at the end of the first half, so maybe they are. I can't get involved, but if Mac Jones is playing, I need to see him look good under Shanahan, which I think could very easily happen, but I still need to see it before I got involved in that game.
Doug, tremendous job. Love hanging out with you here. And we're going to do it every Wednesday. Betting Weekly, The Edge, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. Pacific, me and you. And you, of course, here all week long, Betting Weekly Studios. You can catch Doug. And Friday, you get another Betting Weekly, The Edge with you, Adam the Bull, and Dustin Fox. And that'll be props and parlays, Doug. So you got that lined up for Friday.
Yeah, the lines are going to be settled more, so we'll maybe have to do some teasers and whatnot to sort of get the right value, so to speak. But I'm excited, man. My best prop hit last week, and then I had a bad beat on another one, and then a no-show on the other. So it's a mixed bag. So I'm going to get back on the horse. But I did like that my Joe Flacco got over 243.5 with flying colors. May have to go back to the well again with Flacco against his former team back in the big crab cake.
Doug, I will see you next week. Let's have ourselves a big week 2 in the NFL. Betting Weekly, The Edge. Mike Carver and Doug Kezirian. We will see you next week right here, Bet Rivers Network, Betting Weekly Studios.